What the heck is going on? We're going to talk about that and a lot of other stuff here on the Sooner or Later Sports Show. Thank y'all for pulling up. Of course, that is Coop. I am Jay. Thanks for pulling up here on the YouTube channel and listening. Wherever podcasts are download and listen to while you're here. Please wipe your feet, like, subscribe, rate, review, give us 5 stars. You don't think we deserve it? Go ahead and give us 5 anyway and gift it. So, on today's episode of the Sooner or Later Sports Show, me and Coop got a few things we need to dive into, like the latest recruiting whiffs, and there is potential for some great news right behind it. We're going to talk about the strategy as well as who do we see still on the list. And then we'll wrap things up. It is SEC Media Days. That's why you see me traveling. And Coop has a vendetta against Superman, and I don't understand why. We're going to talk about all of that here. Coop, happy Sunday, my man. How are you?
Jay, I'm fighting off a food coma. I know that this ain't Facebook, and nobody needs to see no pictures or anything like that. But, man, it's the weather has been crazy. But with crazy weather comes like a great garden, right? And my wife loves gardening it up, and so right. I get to use the Blackstone pretty much 4 or 5 times a week to get some garden veggies, and so we pushed the show back a little bit for a couple different reasons, and man, I 100% decided I would eat myself without any hesitation. Not eat myself, but eat my fill. Self-cannibalism is. I went to therapy for self-cannibalism, and it's over. I don't have to mess with that anymore. But self-cannibalism, man, just trying to stay awake, but kind of excited now because we got some fun topics.
Yeah, we got some fun topics, and I think the self-cannibalism piece is a little bit on the weird side. We won't go too far into that, even though I'm actually kind of intrigued by the idea that you are here to self-cannibalize. That's funny. Wow. Everybody that is coming out here to where I'm here in Atlanta at SEC Media Days. As you can see behind me, another hotel room. Your boy's always on the go. And it was hell getting here. It was hell getting here to Atlanta. I'm seeing online now that Code Kublik is dealing with traffic like crazy. Alyssa Lang says she just got here after 5 hours of traffic from Charlotte. Commissioner Paul Greg Sankey's flight has been delayed.
Oh, no.
And, yeah, he's going to be, like, super late. So he's on the list of what we're all dealing with, which is very fascinating. I'm going to tell y'all my quick story of how bad it is, and this is why I'm kind of looking kind of glossy here. But thank y'all for pulling up. We appreciate y'all always joining us for the evenings. The rooms are filling up. We've got about 80 people populating in here on this stream. Thank y'all for joining. So, Coop, I was scheduled to get here today at 2:30, 3 o'clock, I think, Eastern time. So I was pretty excited about that. That means because there's a direct flight from Oklahoma City on Delta, so that means I was not going to be here until I'd have to leave until 11:50 was my flight time. So perfect. Saturday night, got stuff together, started packing, verifying, had all my equipment, mic stands, blah blah blah. I got on my big mic stuff so I can record some shows and Locked On Sooners here while we're here and all of that. So I'm getting all this stuff packed up, put it together, put it in the bag. It's about 11 o'clock. I'm like, all right, showered up, climbed into bed, decided to go ahead and fall asleep. Around 12:30, 12:45, I woke up. I have a tendency of doing that. I'm getting old, so I wake up randomly for no reason. So I'm pissed. Like, what is this? Why am I awake? This is dumb. All right, let me go get up and get some Benadryl. I'm going to put my butt to sleep somehow. So I'm about to get up. So I was like, of course, the thing we all do, we start doom scrolling. I grab my phone to see if any news is populated. I mean, I noticed there was during the NCAA stuff that's going on, the House and the SCORE Act and those NIL deals that have been declined. The opposing attorneys just filed and said that's violating the settlement. So that's about to get interesting again. And so I was trying to see if there
Yes.
was another like Friday, Saturday night news dump, something that I may have missed. So I'm looking and I get a notification on my phone. I get an email. Delta just told me my flight was canceled. What? How is my flight canceled, Coop? What am I supposed to do here? So I get up, go to my computer, hop on there, do my research, do my digging, and they couldn't move me to another flight. The reason they couldn't move me to another flight automatically was because the only flights available were 7 a.m. My alarm was set to wake up at 8. I was going to sleep right through a flight going through. So I schedule it, finally get everything settled, have a 7 o'clock flight to New York that connects there and brings me back to Atlanta because all of the direct flights are full. And I got 2 hours of sleep. So your boy is here on fumes, but excited to talk to you all. And to answer the question that's in here, Oklahoma Day is on Wednesday. So I'm going to pull out my handy dandy pamphlet from here. And I'm going to tell y'all the dates real quick so y'all have them. And then we're going to talk about recruiting and why we actually push this stream back. But yeah, Coop, I am on these fumes, and hopefully bad things don't happen to me today. Let's
Well,
just say that.
hey, listen, you look good. I mean, some people they're just zombies on the airplane. They're walking around, and you're just like, how's this person a functioning human being?
I'm
Listen, dude,
high.
I've been on the red eyes. I have gotten in from a night with a client at like 2:30 a.m. and then ordered the Uber to arrive at 5. I've done all those things. So you look better than I do. So I'll give you credit to that.
I appreciate that. I did a really good job of pampering my face live. I've had a few beers and I have a lot of water. So, and I just ate. And so I'm going to be good for about 2 more hours. And then I'm just going to pass out. And so you guys get to have a fun episode of me probably rambling in a lot of capacities, but let's get off of that. Let's talk about what we're here for. First and foremost, we pushed the show back because rumor has had it that we might get some news on the recruiting trail, potentially a commitment, potentially a top teams, something may come tonight.
Yeah.
But we don't know who and what, which is the most annoying part. So it's like, okay, if it's good stuff, we're going to wait. We're going to push it back and push it back, and hopefully we can talk about it, and it happens while we're here live. And it appears that we're probably not going to get that lucky. So guess what I'm going to do? I'm just going to pretend like it's not going to happen. But we're going to talk about all the bad stuff. As Robert here has posted in here over the last couple of weeks, Oklahoma has lost recruits to Wisconsin, Illinois, Kentucky, Baylor, BYU, Oklahoma State. And a big problem or big question is why? I'm going to be honest. I don't see it as a big problem. But it is interesting on how these quote-unquote struggles have gone, especially past July 1. All the ones before July 1, Coop, I saw as, oh, y'all just going to front load people money. And if there's one thing I'm going to be honest with you all, Oklahoma is not just going to toss people money before, they weren't going to toss people money before July 1 that they didn't feel like was worth it. That's why you've got a Bo Bentley. You've got a select group of people you're going to pay early. You ain't paying everybody because you
Yep.
don't know what you're going to get out of that as of right now. But to me, it was more of a schools are desperate, and you're seeing it's from the smaller schools doing that.
Yeah.
Coop, what you think about all of that?
I mean, listen, other people. I tell my kids this is you don't change who you are because of what other people are doing.
Correct.
And I think that you've seen a lot of schools go out and just spend massive bankroll over the past couple of years, and it didn't produce the way that they envisioned it to do. And
Really?
if we're being honest, and we keep it a buck, like we all want every single top rated guy. We all want every single recruiting win. You only can take so many people, and so this new staff led by Jim Nagy is one that is going to do things from a perspective of this is his first time through. He goes and he looks at some of these grades, such as, in the NFL, it is, hey, we may see a guy, at the mid to late round one, and we really, really like him, but there's a more pressing need that we should maybe do, where you look at your draft from a macro standpoint, and you want to maybe back off of that pick and see if you can get guys similar to that, because in football, it's not like basketball to where like one guy comes in and can pretty much change the franchise.
Right.
You're going to need a lot of different positions. And I think that some of these losses that we're seeing are in positions that we can afford them. Let's just go from the most recent with Jake Eberhard.
Yeah.
We'll get into him deeper here in a few minutes, but right now the safety room looks pretty good. And your path to play is quite difficult at this point. Brandon Hall has done a great job. A lot of people don't even bring up Hardy, but you have Boganowski, you have Powers, you still have Robert Spears Jennings, you still have Peyton Bowen, and then you have Amarian Robinson and Marcus Wimberly in there too. And so if there's a space where you can maybe take an L and maybe not bump up and come out of what you want and what you're slotted to do, it's there. Where the places we have, really taken it to where we wanted to is, on the offensive line, with Deacon Schmidt. Deacon Schmidt was a guy that we really, really wanted. So, when those requests went a certain way, we met them. Quarterback, same place. On the defensive line, the guys that we really, thought that we were in on, it was the same thing with there. I think, Jay, and then I'll pass it to you. The other point is, there's a lot of guys who are going to come in and want to make, the top capability of their NIL and money, from now the collective / university. And I'll just point out one guy who, a defensive lineman, Taj Overton. Taj Overton, it was a situation where he kind of got quiet over, maybe March-ish, things started quieting down. It wasn't a lot of buzz. There wasn't a lot of talk out there. And that guy was not going to be able to come in and really see the field anytime soon.
Yep.
He had a lot in front of him. And I don't think that he is rated or envisioned as a guy who's going to come in, at around the 280-pound mark and make an immediate impact and get the, that high 4-star money, come in and do some production on the field. We were going to see ourselves with another David Stone situation where you have a high-ranked recruit who doesn't get a lot of field time because a guy's out in front of him. And then you have to have that awkward conversation, after year one on bumping down the NIL money. So you've got so much money that you can spend. And if you think that a guy is not going to come in and really put it up right from the get, that you don't bend on what you're willing to do. In Oklahoma State, we all heard Mike Gundy this past week. Mike decided that NIL was not going away, apparently. So congratulations for Mike for coming around to NIL, sticking around finally. But, the university, they upped their offer for him, and they went after him, and they made him a good pitch. And so I think that it's not just plain and simple that recruit comes and says, hey, I want this amount of money, and OU says, can we afford it, can we not afford it? There's a lot that goes into it. And what the staff doesn't want to do is we don't want to get to an emergency or get to a spot to where we need to spend some money, and we already spent it all. And I think that it is a more, I guess you'd say, cautious point of action for this team and for this recruiting staff at this point. And we won't see really right now if it's good or if it's bad. But I do think that the recruiting trail, there's a lot of negative recruiting too. And I think that this team comes out and plays how you and I both think that they're going to play this year. All of a sudden, some of these conversations are going to go a little bit different.
That's where you'll see an adjustment to go with that. First off, remember, Nagy's only been here so many months. There's a lot of refreshing and everything. I'm going to address the video that Nagy had because we talked about it on here last show. So I decided to go back and watch the actual triple option show that show, which is with Mark Ingram, Rob
Yep.
Stone, as well as Urban Meyer. A lot of people didn't watch it, like watch the entire thing.
No.
That quote comes from a question that was specifically asked by Urban Meyer about value, because they were talking about the salary cap and how the cap exists, and what do you do, because you can't pay a whole bunch of people on that cap, because you got to have space to also pay the current players on your roster, especially the good ones. Like I mentioned, retention is just as important as acquisition. And Nagy talked about that. That's where it came from. It was all from
Yep.
a salary cap conversation about current players and getting new players and how do you find value. I'll explain that in a second. But from there, though, Coop, as you just mentioned, you got to have the money to be able to do stuff. This is why I don't take any, and no shade to any of you here in the comment section. I love you all a lot, right? I love you all. But I'll remind you this real quick. Mike, you Mike, thank you so much for the $10. We greatly appreciate it. $10 towards national
Very
championship.
much.
Jay is promising this year. Okay, 10 wins. I'm here for 10 wins as well. It's in my brain. A few people have said that. And Green Arrow pointed this out. That Texas, what's funny is Texas recruiting strategy is becoming to sound pretty much exactly what Nagy is saying. Because it is. Literally, the Anwar Richardson post that Orange Bloods did is that Texas said they're not going to pay these high school kids all this money. They're going to focus
Hours.
on, yeah,
Hours after
hours.
everybody started blowing up Nagy for his quote.
Exactly. They basically said, hey, man, these kids ask for ridiculous money. That's why Texas Tech and them are winning people from them. And Robert, to kind of point out your statement, let me remind you guys this. You ready? Y'all ain't the only fan base feel like y'all suck at recruiting. You know who thinks they suck at recruiting, Coop?
A lot.
Texas. Texas thinks they
Yep.
suck at recruiting.
Yep.
Look at this. Texas fans are losing their minds saying that they suck at recruiting and they don't understand how they went to the playoffs back-to-back years and for some reason recruits don't want to go to their school. People, explain that to me. Explain it to me. Look at these message board posts, man. They are losing their minds about the fact that they can't get a recruit to commit to them and they went to the playoffs. They're getting outbidded by Baylor. Guys, this is why I'm pointing this out to y'all for this reason. It's not happening to just us. This is happening around college football. Smaller schools are coming in and throwing the largest amount they can because they're trying to get that parity game going. Oklahoma's just not going to play it. We have a different strategy. One of our biggest strategies is we're just going to go ahead and find not only someone there that's probably potentially better fit for us, or at least a comparable fit, or we're just going to go to the portal. Kids are going to bounce after a year at some of these schools when they're going to be like, you know what, we're going to slash your pay because you just didn't produce the way we needed you to. So we're going to cut your pay. And then we're going to be like, you know what? We'll circle back to you. We ain't going to pay you what you were making before. We'll pay you a fraction of it because we actually liked you and we liked your tape. You're going to see a lot of that. A lot of that. I promise you that.
And Jay, let me just ask you a rhetorical question here.
Fair. I like rhetoricals.
How Oregon has some money, right? Oregon has money, right? Okay, just making sure.
A lot of it.
Let's see here. You got Notre Dame, who is, they're number 4 in the rankings right now. And yes, KJ Arsenal, you are right, my buddy. We'll talk a little soccer here, half a second. But you've got teams like Florida State. They got a lot of money out there. Florida, Miami, 11, 12, 13. Texas right now is ranked number 15. There is a lot of money available at Texas. Ole Miss, we've seen them pay. SMU, with all of the money that SMU has and all these wins that they've had recently, they're 4 slots ahead of us. So it is. We brought it up the last show is you've got guys like with Georgia Tech pulling the big 5-star offensive lineman last year. You got the big wide receiver going to Syracuse. I can promise you this. I taught, I work nationwide. I have a lot of people that are up in New York. And there's not a lot of ball knowledge or college football excitement up there at all. So some of these guys, and it's not, I will say this, it's now a deal that you have to go out and you get yourself an agent. You got to get an agent. You got to get somebody who's going to go out there and have these conversations. A lot of these decisions aren't being made by the kids. They're saying, "Hey, listen, you sign with me, Junior, and we will take care of everything. You just go out and produce, and we'll do everything for you." Right? You don't see a lot. I mean, there's the here and there with a guy like a Felix Ojo who is out in the middle of every single conversation socially possible. But most of these guys, there's a lot less out there.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not so much about, I mean, like even look at Deuce Gerald's. Deuce Gerald's is filming YouTube videos of him doing campus visits on these things. And now he's pretty quiet. So all of these guys, like David Stone, during his recruitment, always out there, always talking, always kind of, getting what was it? David Stone was supposed to go to, what was it? A school up north that just absolutely blows. I mean, Michigan State. Michigan State
Yeah.
thought that he was going to be going up there. He routed up the Miami crowd. He routed up the OU crowd, and he got all these things going on. It's not you don't see a lot of that anymore, and we follow a lot of these
Yep.
guys quite a bit. So what happens is you got schools like Syracuse, you got schools like Houston now, today with the wide receiver. You got a lot of these schools who say, we need to make a big splash here because our name has to be mentioned at some point in all this stuff to show that we belong in here too, because there's still the whole super conference thing going on too,
Yep.
outside of the NIL piece.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of components that's coming through. But the other piece to add to that truly is that a lot of schools, a lot of the bigger schools are getting wise to this. They're like, no, we're not. We have, and this is what Nagy said when he was on the Triple Option podcast. He basically, as a Cliff's Notes for you all, is that they asked him about value because you've got a salary, you got a revenue, rev share cap, but salary cap, and you can't spend. You're not supposed to go over. What are you doing? He's like, yeah, what we do. And this is a question that was actually in the comment section. So let me answer this for you as well. You were asking about. I'm not sure who the name was. I'll get there in a second. But you were asking about the coaches butting heads. KR Jarson 08. Yes. Wondering if there's headbutting at the top when it comes to the recruits. And no, Nagy addressed that part. And this pod came out July, beginning of this month. And he addressed that. He said, no, he listens to the coaches. He doesn't force players down their throat. But what they did was to simplify things for everybody is they created a color-coded system as far as value go. So basically, instead of the coaches having to sit there and watch film and figure out these recruits, we've got 8 dudes on staff that watch film nonstop, that are trained and have experience doing this. And so they do that, and then they rank them based upon what they think the value of said player truly is. If it's a 5-star and they feel like they're 5-star status, aka Jay Krill, in which we're seeing predictions going for Oklahoma. It sounds like he's a very heavy Oklahoma lean. We'll wait and see. But he's at the top of the list of someone they're going to pay. So if and or when he commits and we give him a bunch of money, do not be surprised because he's one. Bo Bentley was high on that list, hence why he's committed and we paid him. So they did the color coding thing with the coaches. And so now they understand, okay, do you want to spend that much on the dude? Because the other thing, and this is why I keep emphasizing this to a lot of people, we're missing the forest for the trees. You got to pay your current players too. So when
Very
Reggie
much.
Powers shows out, when Michael Boganowski shows out, when Isaiah Satania or Coop, Josiah Martin and Zion Kearney shows out at wide receiver, guess what's going to happen? You got to pay them if you want to keep them, because then, of course, the opportunity to leave and go make more money is there. That's where you got to balance that out. There's a balance. I'm not saying that they're not going to pay. And that's even with like Jake Rosenberg was jumping in the comments on folks was saying that Nagy wasn't saying he's not going to spend on top players, but he's got to figure it out because he's got to also retain the current roster. It's just like in the NFL, but the big difference, and Nagy mentioned this on the show as well, is that you only got so many years with these kids.
Yeah.
So you're balancing 3, 4 years, maybe 5 with some kids, with bringing in the new ones and balancing that number. Man, it's a very interesting setup. It's more of a challenge to figure out how, because this is new. Remember, this is brand new for everybody. And so you've got certain schools like a Texas Tech throwing these big bags around, and it's cool and all. But go look at the rest of the players they have. They have one, maybe
That's
two tier one players,
that's
and then they just fill it up with everything else, and then they figure it out and go from there. What they're trying to do is drum up attention. If they drum up enough
yes.
attention to their name, guess what happens? Maybe they can get themselves some more recruits. The good thing for Oklahoma is we already got that. Now we just got to decide what players we want to go deep into. And so if this player does populate we get a top 10 or something over the next 24 hours from somebody, y'all going to have a reason to get excited because it'll be a player that is a top 100 player that y'all been hoping for. Let's put it
And
that way.
and I saw somebody make a comment, and it was really, really an intelligent comment after the Everhart commitment yesterday. That didn't go the Sooners' way, and he said, "Remind me, yes, remind me again why we're freaking out over the 267th, player in the recruiting rankings." And I think that like you got to step back because when you hear things like we're in the top for this guy, and this guy could have been a silent commitment, because I fully believe that Eberhart gave the coaches the nod at one point. And so
it feels like it.
When you have situations like this, there's a lot of things. I don't think Eberhart was necessarily an NIL piece. And if you guys don't know, his dad recently passed away. He played there. And there is a component of that in that decision. You saw him crying. You saw him, if you read a lot of the notes on like how he what he said about the OU staff, like it was almost like he was apologizing to the OU staff. And I'm just going to say, if we got a guy and he sat there on the during his commitment day and apologized to, hell, let's just say Miami and the Miami staff over and over and over again, I don't know how comfortable I feel in that scenario, but you understand it because of the heartstring portion of it. But I go back to this, Jay, is you've got, what do you say, a healthy $20 million budget, right? A healthy $20 million budget for a recruiting class. And you've got, how many players are there on rosters now? 105 total players. So you got to divide all that money up and then hope to God that you're paying the right people the right amount of money, because you watch in the NFL and a quarterback will have 23-24% of cap space. You still need 5 dudes to protect his ass. You still need 3 or 4 dudes to throw the ball to. You need somebody to tote the rock, and that's on offense.
Right. And even
you got the defense.
Right. To add to that, like, take in consideration that, we've got a lot of young players right now too. And a lot of young players that we really like that we're going to have to pay. And that's where your struggle comes in, man. And it's nothing, like I said, I'm not saying that we're not, and there are some struggles here and there, and that we need to improve some things. That's not what we're not disputing a lot of that, but we're trying to add some additional context for you guys to understand what you have to do if you're going to survive this game. Because remember, NIL is also going to be a component. Now, if the NCAA would stop, well, not the NCAA, the College Sports Commission, the CSC, if they would stop being stupid and denying NIL deals, basically anything that's coming from a collective, they're basically denying it, which is dumb, because there's a great argument that a lawyer just made, and this transitions perfectly into where things are going to get very, very squirrely over the next few months. Basically this. Here you go, Coop. This lawyer pointed this out, and I thought it was basically genius. The collectives, they have agreed that the collectives are allowed to basically help facilitate deals for the players when it comes to NIL, which at that point makes the collective a legitimate business entity that in turn can go into an NIL deal that is a fair market value number to help these kids facilitate deals with bigger NIL deals down the line. This commission and the accounting firm that's a part of this with this clearinghouse crap, they're basically denying $2,000 NIL deals for them to do marketing stuff, social media posts and all of this stuff, which is basically them drumming up more business for themselves, for the collectives, to be able to help facilitate more stuff for players. That doesn't make any sense. You're just basically like cutting off your nose to spite your face in this situation. This is where things are getting ridiculous, and it's going to become a pain in all of our tush trying to figure out how this is going to work. I'm annoyed by it. I'm annoyed by it because all it does is slow up the process of doing these quote unquote NIL deals. That's why you see with like Texas Tech, they didn't do a NIL deal. Their deal was a rev share deal. They are going to give these players the revenue share cut piece of the pie. And if you really think about it, if they're going to allot 5% of it to this player, what does that mean for the other players on the roster? Yes. They're going to start playing a whole bunch of freshmen. I know none of y'all want us to play a whole bunch of freshmen. We did that last year. What happened? They usually aren't at the physical ability to play at the level y'all want them to. Y'all going to be mad. I'm saying y'all as y'all in the comment section. Y'all going to be mad. I'm not going to be mad because I understand. Y'all going to be mad. You're like, why are we paying these dudes? We need to get some veterans in there. Well, that's what Oklahoma's doing right now. This staff they like their picks. They like the players that they've recruited. And we started to up players' pay. And it looks really good going forward. Like
it does.
It looks and feels good. Like every parent I've talked to that's been at a practice and have watched it and watched film, they're like, oh, this is night and day compared to what we saw last year. Last year, they were telling me, hey, man, I'm worried about this. I'm worried about that. We got to see if it works out. Okay, cool. Now, I talked to y'all about it. I told y'all our hopes was this, and this working for us. And those things didn't work out for us. But now these parents are like, oh, no, it's like night and day. I watched the film of last year, what we were supposed to do. Oh, this looks completely different. Like they're actually doing the stuff that they're supposed to do. And the playbook is dramatically different. Believe you, boy. Everybody is saying, the parents are saying, hey, and the parents that we have are ones that actually watch film and actually coach on the side too. They're like, oh, believe me when I say this, you are going to like what you see out of this team. So we'll see what happens though.
And I'll cap it off with one other thing, Jay, is my grandfather, greatest man I've ever known, person that I absolutely love. One of his biggest things is, you know what, if you always tell the truth, you never have to remember what you said. And what's going to happen in all these conversations with all these high school recruits is all these universities are going to be talking all this mess, all these promises, all these lofty pieces. And then some of these guys are going to go elsewhere. And they're going to see, well, damn, it didn't happen like they said it was going to happen. Who do you think's the first university that they're going to think about? Because I know that Josiah Martin is one of the guys that we had a conversation with, we had a good cup of coffee with, and he decided to go elsewhere. He plays a year, yep, and then he says, come on back to OU. And I think he's a guy that nobody talks about. Now, is he going to be CeeDee Lamb? I don't really think so. But could he be a guy who catches passes on the regular? Could he be a clutch guy? Could he be somebody that every single time that he catches a pass, you're like, oh, damn, I forgot we had him? Yeah, I think that that's the type of guy that you're going to want, is somebody who says, you know what, truth does mean something to me. And if you have a good relationship with these kids and you just own up and be what you say you're going to be, and those guys start hitting the transfer portal, you have a guy who comes in, the star rating don't mean a damn thing once you hit campus. It means
at all.
Nothing at all. And
you know who said that too? Who said that too? Just be real quick. Somebody just said that recently. Michael Fasusi just said that literally in an interview a couple days ago.
Exactly. And so you got a guy like Michael Fasusi. He's shown up on campus, and what has he done? He has pushed every single offensive lineman that is in the same room with him. He has done what he is supposed to be doing. And so we've had guys, and I don't want to throw dudes under the bus, but we had a very, very, very borderline 5-star offensive lineman out of the state of Oklahoma here recently come onto the team, and we waited 1 year, we waited 2 years, we waited 3 years. Nothing happened. Dude bounced and never played a meaningful down, never gave us meaningful snaps. And so you got, that's the thing is now that you got the money tied to it, it's no longer, well, he's just a kid, leave him alone, he's just a kid. Now you get the money tied to it. Every single one of us are going to go, why are we paying that guy money? Like, why? Hold on. Why did we give him that much money? How much money did we give Jackson Arnold? And because we all feel good about saying it when it's that way, or when you got the guys who come out and produce, and then all of a sudden they're like, "Hey, hitting the transfer portal, outie," and we're like, "Well, hold on, why can we not pay him money?" I would rather be in a spot where we have money to bump a guy up than go to a spot where we got to go and deplete the depth in order to keep somebody, because I mean, they're threatening to leave because we don't have enough money because we gave it to two other guys who haven't done anything on the field. So there is a long game in play right now, and I would rather say let's come together on an idea based off of measurables, based off of statistical analysis. Instead of going, well, hey, these three sites say that he's a 4-star, so that means he's definitely going to be an NFL guy, right?
Right. I
We've
mean,
seen several. I mean, I got the list here. I keep on bringing it up. I just don't throw it away right now because there's so many guys that when you saw, you're like, holy hell, this guy is going to be an absolute stud.
and that's the
And you
point
forget
here
about him.
too. Exactly. That's the point here. Karis J, you made it right there. We've got 5 stars now. We need them to show up as 5 stars. It's gonna take time. This is also the thing I want y'all to remember too, and this only reason why this keeps getting rehashed is for this particular reason, because I know that I've learned more and more as I've done this over the last, since Brent Venables has been here. This is when we've really dug deep into the Oklahoma content and talking. Something to point out. It is July. I don't know if y'all realize this, but a lot of the kids that we recruited over the last couple of years and they committed around July, their rankings went up by the time we got to October. Why? Because now people are paying attention to them. Just put it to you this way. I have no beef with the ranking system like most do. A lot of people do. I know
I
Coop has
don't.
voiced his discern with his issue with it. I've heard others do it as well, and I totally get it. I get it. Like you should have skepticism mainly because it's humans making decisions. I get that. Computers aren't any better because they are taking input from humans. So not everybody. That's why you have 3 different systems. Well, now 3, because everybody has a different point of view on why they value certain things. One thing I have noticed, though, is, and this is another example that came from that triple option podcast. Mark Ingram, I don't know if y'all knew this, but Mark Ingram was a 3-star prospect. He finished as a 4-star prospect when, and he said this on the show, when Alabama offered him.
Yeah.
His status of star went up after Alabama and the commitment. But he was a 3-star initially. He's like, yeah, I was a 3-star coming out, because now he's like, Mark, you were a 3-star, if I'm correct, when you were in high school. And Mark Ingram replied back, yeah, I was. And then when at the offer from Alabama and commit there, then I moved. That's when I earned my 4th star. I say that because a lot of these evaluators too at some of these sites, they look at the people that's evaluating the talent. If there's a dude that's known for putting people into the pros, dudes that's known for developing players, Todd Bates has a reputation, hence why so many jobs have come up for him. People tried to get him. Bill Beatonbow people tried to take him numerous times as well. Heck, even DeMarco Murray. You've seen some of these coaches, people try to pry him away. Those evaluators respect what they're saying too. They're like, oh, okay, you offered them. There's a reason why you offered them. Now, granted, not all players will move up quickly because, you can look at like the Gendreau brothers. They've got offers from just about all the large gauntlet of schools,
Yeah.
but they have not moved up in the rankings yet. But again, it's July. Give it some time. PJ Abaware was a 3-star when we offered him. He commits in August. He's flying up the charts into 4, and he becomes a 5-star plus at the end. We haven't seen him break out yet because he's been injured, but he will at some point. Jackson Arnold was the same. He was in the 4 stars before he committed early to Oklahoma, and then as he camped more, he flew into 5-star plus status. You'll see that with players quite often. Sometimes you got to wait until the evaluators see, oh, all these schools want this kid. Why does all these schools want this kid? And sometimes they'll correct it. Sometimes they're like, nah, we'll leave it as it is.
And I would say that my beef with the recruiting system is an actual beef. It is an imperfect system that's built off of, you look at a lot of the time, you got guys who maybe show out as a freshman or a sophomore in high school, and you start going, that guy's a future 5-star guy. He is a future 5-star guy. We all don't like that college football has rankings week 1 because something's always tossed by week 3.
Oh God, I hate
And
them. I hate them so
when
much.
when you get some of these guys who are projected as 5-stars as a sophomore, and I don't want to get crude, but my uncle said, "Hey, until something drops, you ain't a man." And I'm just saying, you get to spots where guys were just massive. My little brother, not a massive athlete, not he had trouble with education portion of things too. But we Bartlesville alum, 25 years, boom, right? But we get our asses kicked day in and day out when we come up and play Jinx, Broken Arrow, Owasso. None of those things change. But as a freshman, my little brother came to Jinx for the preseason, kind of with the rotation with the 3 teams. Dude had 3 sacks in about 12 snaps. And guess what? We got calls and said, "Hey, Miss Cooper, where are you working now?" From schools up here in Tulsa, want to see,
Right.
and KJ, I 100% believe in that one too. But if he would have been able to stay out of trouble and stay in school, like that is a progression where he would have probably gotten to his junior year and it would have been a downhill spike too, because he didn't care for the game. He was just bigger and more athletic than kids his age at that moment. And so you get guys who, with the recruiting systems, who are a high 5-star, going into their junior year, and by their senior year, what do you do as a recruiting system? Do you drop the dude 400 places and go, we were wrong? No, you move guys up eventually, and maybe there's some sliding, but sometimes those are the things that happen too. Guys also completely play in, and ET was the one where I was going with this. So KJ Arsenal, I appreciate you, man. Elijah Thomas plays, yes, Lemon, it is. We had to go get real beer up in Caney. But I'll say this is with Elijah Thomas. This is a guy who plays in Chakota, Oklahoma, right? Not a lot of people are going to know who he was, but
Correct.
if dude played at Duncanville, if the guy played at Jinx, it's different. And I hate to bring it over this way. Sometimes dudes just get ranked because of weird ass situations. There is a fella that's going to be starting for a team in our conference this year. Never threw for 2,600 yards in a single season. His highest season was his freshman season, like 2,500 yards. Because of his name, he was number 1 recruit in everything. His final game as a high school player, he went 8 for 21 with under 100 yards passing and 2 picks. Now stinky. Tell me how in the hell somebody can say that is a 5-star recruit. Can he be something different at this point? Sure. But that just shows you that sometimes the ranking systems, there's something in the mind, and once it's there, it's hard to get it out because there's a lot of crawfishing that needs to happen at that point. Horse is dead, though, Jay.
You're right. It's weird. Like I said, the evaluators have their own biases that they look at, and certain things they traits they go after, and that's what they do. Our evaluators are front office staff that will be doing the exact same thing, have their biases. The staff has their biases and all of that. Let them figure out what they're gonna do. And I say that because I would like y'all to at least give this. Can we get it through the year? Can we get through the season? Can we get through the recruit? Because remember, I mean, we've got some good players. I mean, I think Daniel Odom, and what it sounds like is Daniel Odom is not going anywhere. Like he's locked in with Emmett Jones, and it's like, oh, we thought that he was only going to be there for Jayden. They have a great relationship, but he really likes EJ. So you've got him sticking around. If you get some more. Now, let's talk about that. This is probably the segment where we need to transition into it. But I want to say one thing, though, and we're going to talk about the players that are left on the board. Trojan Fight jumps in, says, my experience is when a guy says we aren't going to get into a bidding war for a 5-star, it really means you don't have the money said 5-star is asking for. That is always a possibility, yes, but that is not always the situation. And I can tell you that from knowing people that I've seen 5 stars go to other schools and take less money because the school decided that they did not want to take them. Say, nope, you're not a take for us. 5-star rate, 5-star rated guy.
Mm-hmm.
And they just said, nah, you're not a take for us. And in a lot of those situations, there's other components you look at. Like, y'all don't want knuckleheads. Well, granted, Trojan fight, no shade to you, but at the same time, y'all did take Bear Alexander, and he's a pain in y'all's tush the entire time. So you typically don't want a pain, but you learn it once you get it. You're like, yeah, I see why this situation turned out the way it turned out. You're like, yeah, we shouldn't have gotten to bed with this. You was hoping for the best. It didn't work out.
Yep.
It didn't work out. We've done it. Oklahoma's done it too. A lot of other schools have done it. They're like, yeah, it just didn't work out the way I thought it was going to work out, unfortunately. So you give it a try. You throw a flyer, and you go the way you go. And that's just what it is. But in some situations, you run into that where it's not always a pay thing. Sometimes it's we're going to move on. Now, I do agree. In some cases, it is pay. But Coop, let's get off that dead horse of beating it, because I know we've been talking like crazy about and explaining to everybody and explaining. Lucy, you have splaining to do. We're trying to do less splaining here. But no, we've got to talk about what we've got left on the board before we truly wrap up. And then we're going to talk, Superman. Because I'm wide awake. Told you I am wired from no sleep. But I'm going to crash so hard tonight. Oh my God, I'm going to sleep so hard tonight. Like, it's going to be banana. I don't know. I'm wake up in the morning. It's going to be sleep so hard. But anyway, all right. The Jacob Eberhardt situation we talked about, that was he's going to go honor his father, wear his father's number, and play at his alma mater. Sucks. That was a last-minute decision. He even basically said it in the interview of, after really weighing it, he decided to go the other way. Sucks. Hurt. Sucks. I love Jacob's film. I was high on his film. He was one that I really liked. But I'm not concerned about the safety room because Brandon Hall is there. He has been doing great. We got the Jandro brothers, and I think we've got a couple others that we're going to look at here. But I think for us right now, the big question is, because the biggest L's we've taken, Zach Turner just committed to SMU, which is fascinating because I thought he was going to Miami. Miami was going to pay him the most, is what I've been told, and SMU somehow swooped in and won it. Fascinating.
I wonder how.
Who was that? Who was that? Miles, the wide receiver that you had interviewed.
Yeah.
He ended up getting yanked up by the same school because of, they decided to offer up a lot of money to get some of these kids. SMU's trying to find a way to bid in. The Dallas Dickerson situation, of course, that didn't work out like we would have wanted. Algier Miles, that's his name. Kid's good. Yep. I really like him a lot. And Jaden Pettit, who went to Wisconsin. So, question is, who are we looking at to replace him? Tell you, Gross. Davian Gross. Now, granted, Davian Gross is a multi-athlete guy. He is a top, oh yeah, he's top 100 easily.
Top 100.
Lord. Whew, he's good.
That boy good.
We're in a very, this one I can say it's funny, I actually had somebody hit me up that covers one of the teams that we're battling for him with. And they were like, hey, man, congrats. I've actually heard that I think y'all got him.
He is.
I'm like, word? That's huge. That's true.
According to On3, and again, going back to the rating systems on the different places, sometimes you're on a Rivals board and everybody says Rivals hates OU. And sometimes you're on the On3 board that says On3 hates OU. ESPN, I think they've always pretty much hated OU. It seems like the only time they have somebody rated higher than the other are the guys that we're not super excited about. But
David Stone, they loved him. They love Stone.
They love David
Stone. That's a rare one, but you're right.
But Davian Gross is the number 6 receiver in this class, and he is a dude who a lot of people are throwing around. Some really interesting names as far as the comps go. Mm-hmm. And, so you look in front of him, you've got Boobie Feaster, who at one point a lot of people thought was potentially the number one receiver in the whole entire class. But he's right in front of him. Calvin Russell, who is the 5-star kid who committed to Syracuse. Chris Henry
Mm.
Jr. Chris Henry Jr. out of Modern Day committed to Ohio State. Ohio State getting 5-star receivers, just like hot weather in July.
I was about to say,
Then you've
like, wait,
got
isn't it like a tradition as old as the game itself? Isn't it like what they
100%.
do?
100%. And then you got C.D. Morgan, and that's a dude who is that's one that you guys might want to watch out for. He's an Alabama kid, committed to Alabama, 6'4", 220, and then Tristan Keys just committed to LSU too. So I mean, these guys are all very very highly sought after guys. Davian Gross is a kid who his family are OU fans. They've been OU fans for a very long time, and again,
Oh, you people.
until things are public, they still can change. 100%,
Yeah.
it's always going to be that way. But as of right now, I think that's your next commitment coming here. I would not be too surprised if it's very, very, very soon. He is a dude who is going to come in here and he is going to compete. I really, really think that he is kind of like the Elijah Thomas. That's the receiver that does really, really well in this system that we're running. You don't want the 5'6", 137-pound dude. You definitely don't want is he a tight end or is he a wide receiver body type? But that 6'1", around 200 guys who can move, with the ball in their hands. Prior to injury, the last guy that we had come in and really just really really do a lot from that body type.
Mm-hmm.
Sterling Shepard. A lot of people don't remember how good Sterling Shepard is. Most of you guys probably do, but a lot of people forget about him because his body type was it was phenomenal. He had an absolute great body control, great ability to catch the ball in traffic. He did not hear footsteps. Those were things that made him great. And so I'm very excited if he pulls the trigger and does commit to OU. I think that it's a lockdown situation. And I don't want to steal any of the kids' glory for what he's doing,
Yeah.
but
Don't steal no thunder.
there is for the same amount of for the Jacob Eberhardt situation, OU is a very very important thing to his family. And I saw a comment that somebody said, these kids are all divas. I very much want to let you guys know that it is a very hard situation right now to be a 16, 17, 18-year-old kid and have the entire family basically coming to help you out, right? Coming to help you out. And to
Them's the
get in the
words.
middle, yes, because all of a sudden you have a potential before you play a snap in college football to offer a wealth that your family has never experienced and to help out people up and down the family. And there's a lot of pressure. There is a lot of pressure. We saw a situation with that in the transfer portal season earlier this year with one of our guys. And so family is a very, very big thing to him. His family are big OU people. You're starting to see a couple of the crystal balls dropping for him too. So, that will, when we get that, he didn't take a small bag. That's not the case. He's not a diva. That's not the case. But he
Yeah.
voiced his opinion, and his opinion is going to be held.
No, you're right. And that crystal ball came in. Was that yesterday? From
Yes,
Josh McQuistion dropped one. You
I
also
think
had Sam
Speaks.
Spiegelman.
Yep,
Spiegelman. He had just dropped an article about the 3-way battle, and then Gross mentioned that Houston was in the mix because he had just did a Houston visit, and he's like, "Nah, Oklahoma gonna win this one. Oklahoma got this one." So that's the case. I'm like, yeah, I think that. I am also in the mind frame up. I like just wait and see when it happens.
100%.
Let me,
Because things happen. I
yeah,
mean, things happen, and it ain't always the kid's fault. a lot of the time there's a lot of pressure there. And just remember, I'm just going to rewind when I was 17 years old. I did not have
You were
that pressure.
17 years old before?
I was 3 or 4 years ago.
Oh,
But
shut the front door. That's what I thought.
uh, I just turned 20. Um, and
I knew you were a
also,
baby.
hey, I'm going to end it with something. So don't take the mic right after I finish the sentence. But
Okay.
you know when you're 17, like I said, with all these pressures on you and of what can happen, and it's hard to say like, hey, listen, man, you can really take care of, we can take care of mom and pops, we can put you on the right path, we can take care of grandparents and stuff like that if you go to Oklahoma. And then somebody comes and drops and says, oh, hey, if you take that money, we could also your uncle, your aunt, she's been having some issues with her health, and their kids, they got really bright futures and they just don't have the money to do things. A lot of those conversations happen, and it's not malicious, it's not nefarious, sometimes it's just real life. And it's hard for these kids at 17 to go, yeah, but what about when I'm 30?
Right. That's always the one. What happens when I'm 30 years old? And it's like, about that. I'm not really talking about that component of it. But again, you're 100% right that they're missing the forest for the trees. I think make that statement for that specific reason, because that's really what's happening. A lot of people are missing the forest for the trees. You're looking at right in front of you, not looking at the long term. Some players are starting to recognize that, others are not. Thank you for pulling up, hit the like button. New to the channel, subscribe, rate, review. Give us 5. I expect by the end of August, you guys will be pleasantly surprised at what Oklahoma's doing. And you may actually have some smiles on your face. And if another 5-star populates like I'm sensing could happen, if things are tracking properly, you're going to be like, where did this come from? And I'm be like, I told you. I don't want to take away the kid's thunder, but I've heard some things. But anyway.
There are some things out there. But hey, I just want to say, I did mention that I just turned 20 last week. But Jay,
Roughly.
happy birthday. Tomorrow is your birthday, and you're doing the Lord's work out there, SEC Media Day. So, guys, hit up in the chat. Say happy birthday to Jay. I find it funny. My birthday is July 7th. JP, over with JP and Trav, July 11th, and then you, the 14th. So if you got a July birthday, hop in here too and let us know about your birthday. But man, happy birthday! And fun story time. And then I want to disagree with everything that you think about life after that.
Okay.
But last year, if you guys were on the watching the show last year at this time, I had I can't Jake. I can't remember Jake's last name. One of the Alabama guys. I had him on. You were
Jake
traveling
Merrill.
at that. Jake Merrill. Yeah, you were gone traveling at that point too.
Yep.
So Jay and my wife and my friends all schemed behind my back.
Schemed, my friend. Schemed
to get me out and get my Irish on as soon as the show was over. And they wanted it to be a surprise. And if you want to surprise me, it don't take much. I'm a very, very narrow focused person, but and which is funny because I can't stay on track when I'm talking. But you can surprise me pretty easily. So Jay tells me that he forgot to renew the podcast database, the streaming service that we use. And that we had to cut the show off at an hour exactly. And if we did not, it was going to just shut off, and it's going to be a bad experience, and it could hurt the podcast, hurt our everything. And so Jake, with 59 minutes, like 26 seconds, says, well, I got 3 things to say about that. It was something to that extent, and I was panicking. I don't think it was the first time that I'd ever ran it by myself, but I was so stressed out. And I remember at like 48 seconds, I was like, hey, Jake, man, I love you. Jay actually, and I kind of brought it up. I didn't know what else to do. I had no lying, no way out of it, no way to polish that turd. And so I was like, thanks for tuning in. Make sure to like, subscribe. Until next week, I'm out. and we had to bounce. And I still think about that, and I get like the stress tingles up my spine because even though I know it wasn't true, it still stressed me out because I did not want to bomb the show while you were out. So kudos to you for hooking me up.
Oh
Uh,
man. Yeah, when
yeah,
Nicole hit me up about that, I was like, "Oh, don't worry, I got something perfect." I know Coop's brain well enough to know a very good way to stress him smoothly out, where he's going to get off there in exactly an hour. So just like, give me a minute, and she's like, "Okay, okay." And then when it went down, she messaged, she's like, "LOL, he was freaking out." I was like, "I do what I can."
man, man, I can
It's so bad.
my flights. I can say it'll take me 20 minutes to get to the airport, get a couple minutes to get checked in, and all this stuff. I can do all of those things and not stress out a single bit. There's either gonna be an asteroid coming down, a tornado in the area, and I'm like, all right, guys, no, you don't run. Just just get there. We'll get there. But man, messing up the podcast. So
And that's
happy.
the great appreciation I have, that you have the love for it like that. So Coop, thank you. That's fun. That's good stuff. Yeah, thank you all for the birthday wishes. Yes, tomorrow your boy turns a ripe 22 years old, so I'm feeling good, feeling spry and excited. Even though, like I said, I am busted and exhausted. The board is big. I need to do a full breakdown of all the players available. Me and Coop will probably do that very soon. We're gonna go through and look. Hopefully, something good happens to where it makes it even easier to really dive into that. But anyway, uh, let's talk about it.
Gotta do a spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert: if you have not seen the new Superman movie, as you all know, we're both Marvel nerds. We're both DC nerds. We're both comic book nerds. That's the things that we get into, to the point of Coop gets into spats with Gerald McCoy on X on a regular basis about the movies, like on a regular basis. And I see your questions in the comments. We'll address those here on in the end real soon. I got a few of these questions I see in here. Like, Robert, I see yours around JUCO players. Believe me, they're hunting JUCOs. We're making attempts at some. Well, we are making attempts at JUCOs. Like, we're looking for another Kendall Doby. I'll put it to you that way.
Yeah,
Remember, Kendall Doby was a JUCO
JUCO.
player, so we are looking at that. But we'll talk about that again in just a second. But um, Coop was in there, nerding out. He's been nerding out, and he's been going off in the social medias for like the last day and some change, because he just did not like the movie. So Coop, I'm gonna let you open it up. What was your beef with a James Gunn produced Superman?
Um,
Spoiler alert.
I will. Yes, spoiler alert to everybody. So again, if you have not seen the movie yet,
Turn it
I will
off.
do my
Bounce.
best.
Come back later.
I'll do my best. But I might be doing you a favor by talking some of this stuff. So I'm not gonna lie. When I hit and I go nerding out to YouTube, um, I typically I think that the conversations that you and I have off screen does not allow I don't we don't watch podcasts to get content, because I mean most of the stuff that we know they know, same type of things.
Right.
um, we're not going to be breaking news at any point or anything like that. So I do support Gabe and Teddy a lot more during the season, just because I want to hear schemes, I want to hear breakdowns from when it comes stuff like that. But most of the time I watch Marvel stuff, comic book guys, Cosmic Wonder. There's a lot of Emergency Awesome. There's a
Nerd
lot of guys.
alert.
Yes, nerd alert, right? And not even just that. They watch stuff like Stranger Things, etc. So, obviously, when James Gunn did Guardians of the Galaxy, I absolutely loved Guardians of the Galaxy. I thought it was terrific. I think that James Gunn did a lot with Guardians of the Galaxy that broke the paradigm around the superhero movies, kind of making a slapstick group of guys, people, a freaking badass soundtrack. I mean, I would say that if you pick movie soundtracks, you can go with, Forrest Gump is a great movie soundtrack. Most of the Guardians movies had terrific soundtrack. I mean, hey, I just download them and I just play them on Fourth of July,
Yeah, they're
just
good to play in the
because I know
background.
that
They're great
I
background
know that
music. Yeah.
everybody's gonna dig these songs, and so, um, but a lot of the reviews going into it were that the CGI was tough, not spectacular. That as more and more content came out around it, you had Superman go John Wick and throw a desk in front of Lex Luthor and scream, "Where's my puppy?" And all I could think of was, it's just a effing dog. From multiple people throughout the John Wick series. Um, I will say the good. The good is I felt myself that at the end of the movie, I feel like the last 15 to 20 minutes, maybe not hate the movie in its entirety.
Okay.
But
Okay.
one of my brothers got up and left right after the president got dropped by Hot Girl, and to go get another beer and just didn't come back. My other brother nodded off. I felt myself, and I says I'll disclaim it with this: is when I'm watching a movie with people, I almost feel like I'm entertaining them, even though that my friends and I'm part of the Cinemark Club, so I stack those free movie tickets for the big dogs, or for when I'm going to go see the kids. So I feel like the movie was so hard, set up so much in such a short amount of time that it felt like no character got the appropriate amount of I don't know the appropriate amount of attention that they needed. I thought in Black Adam the Justice Society was pretty weak, and I thought this one was even worse.
Yeah.
I think Mr. Terrific might have been one of my favorite characters in the movie, but
He
I
was good.
felt like I was watching Shaft a little bit. Like he kind of felt a little shafty.
Can you dig it?
But no, I would rather have dug Shaft. But no, I like what David Gordon Sweat did with the character. He owned the character, absolutely dominated the character. I just think it was shitty writing, and
Okay.
that's where I'll start.
All right. It's complete opposite. Loved it. I loved it because it felt like a comic book movie.
That it did.
Here's the thing that I feel like a lot of us have compared, and this is kind of, I think, one of the bigger issues when it comes to a lot of these movies. Christopher Nolan has created a world that is not realistic. Christopher Nolan created the perfect trilogy of a comic book
Yeah,
that he knew had an ending that he
yeah,
could kill. This is to open up a whole universe. And this is why I appreciate the way Gunn went with it, is because it reminded me of how he did Guardians. Guardians was able to transcend multiple additional movies to keep it going. Plus, this is the one thing that I appreciated most about the Superman movies, that it's not an origin story. So, like I said, spoiler alert, this ain't an origin story. He's already been doing this for a while. He's existed for a while. He's been
yeah,
around for a while. So now we're not dealing with a situation where we've got a dude that we're now learning about him first showing up, going through school, going through Smallville and all of this stuff. We ain't dealing with all of that. He's walking into action. And that is the thing I appreciate the most about the way Gunn did it. Now, granted, it wasn't perfect. I give it about a 7.5 or 8 out of 10. There's things I would have adjusted in it or whatnot. When you get to the end of the movie, you understand the value of the dog, in which I think that's going to actually lead to something bigger. And then everybody's going to be like, oh, that's why y'all played it this way. But I digress. It felt like a comic book. It didn't feel like a Christopher Nolan spinoff. That's how I felt about Man of Steel. That's how I felt about BVS, right? Justin, it felt like Snyder was trying too hard to be like Nolan while at the same time being like Snyder and full of
yeah.
action. That's where I was feeling like there's too much of a disconnect, and it was very dry. This felt like it had more personality, but I feel like this film, and this is why I gave it a little bit more of grace, is because I feel like this movie, this version, this Superman is going to be like how a lot of us probably felt about Batman Begins, because I hated Batman Begins when I first saw it. Then I watched The Dark Knight, and then I went back and watched Batman Begins. I was like, oh, this is actually pretty well done. This is
That's
placed
true.
very well. I hated Batman Begins when it first came out, but that's what it was. It took me the next one. So he's playing similar to the way Marvel did with its first 10 years of building, 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 back reference. Now you see why this played this way. You're like, oh, the big picture. So it's gonna be a bunch of work. It's gonna be about to like. So I don't expect everybody to like it like I did. That's what I saw out of it. Now I'm searching for Easter eggs because I know something else is gonna pop up in the next movie.
I would say this: there's too many parallels to really, really terrible, terrible, terrible things, and I'll go in reverse order. Then we can answer questions and wrap it up, so that you guys
Right.
don't have to pay taxes on this job. But
Yeah, we got to talk about
so
the AD. There's some questions there, but yeah.
yeah, so I think obviously I like Millie Acock, who's going to be playing Supergirl. I think that when she come crashing in at the end and Crypto starts going crazy, it felt like in the movie Boondock Saints, where
Mm-hmm.
Rocco's druggy girlfriend came in and from partying, and I saw that parallel. I think the Pocket Universe, I kept on expecting Jack Black to jump up from the plasma river because it looked very Minecraft. Tell me it didn't look very Minecraft. Um, if you saw the Kingsman Golden Circle, where they put all the people infected with the infected drugs into the stadium in little boxes, that's what I felt like in Little Pocket Universe. I felt it also kind of felt like in what was it, the second Guardians movie, when oh goodness gracious, his dad has got the little platform and they're flying through the world
Like
in
ego.
Ego's world. Yeah, in Ego's world, so he likes the flying platforms. But I will say this, like I said, I think there was some geopolitical crap in there that I don't know if it really added anything, because there was that stuff making the president kind of look a little bit like a psycho Albert Einstein. And I think that with James Gunn's history around that, I feel like he could have easily just maybe punted that one and somebody around him would have done it. But here's the one
Yeah.
thing that I will concede. We had Christopher Reeves. We had a Superman before that. Christopher Reeves taught everybody what Superman was. And
Yeah.
then you get stuff with Dean Cain and and Lois and Clark. You've had so many iterations of Superman, and to do it again that didn't maybe fit one of those past ones, because Jay, you just said it about the Dark Knight. There were people ready to string up Snyder, like after Batman versus Superman.
Yeah.
And now people want everything back. It just did not work out for Cavill to continue. That was a new
He
universe.
he was the
I
perfect Superman.
he was.
He really
Now I
was.
will say this: now here's where the real nerd stuff happens here, right? Hal
Nerd.
Gardner,
Yeah.
John Stewart, those are other iterations of Green Lantern. But the Guy Gardner iteration of that, it's spot on. It's absolutely freaking phenomenal. Like, he
It's
is a
so
dick.
disgusting. It is
He
so
he
disgusting. The haircut,
he is
the
terrible. And
Mark Johnson, Mark Davis look. Is the
Mark
Mark
Davis
Davis
look,
look?
yeah.
Just the Mark
Oh god.
Davis look just gets me. Red head, ugly hair. All he needed
Oh, it
was
was.
yes, it was, oh my God. It was,
And again,
sorry.
I think to pander to it is, you don't need 45-year-olds to really be the leading charge for this movie. You need people like 16 to 28, because this is a universe you're going to have over the next couple of decades, and
Yeah, you're gonna
that's
have
the
at least
people
10
that you
years.
need.
Yeah.
And so
Fair.
when you saw in the preview of Kitty doing the selfies, and I didn't realize that was Kitty in the preview, but she's doing the selfies, and that kind of leads to the rest of the movie as, oh, that's Hal, right? But I loved the accountant too, where chick's taking a selfie and they hack into her phone and get the girl's picture. So like I can respect that. I'm taking my kids again here in a couple days. We're gonna go watch it. At least to I'll kind of feel different. I did feel like it felt like it was like a long form documentary that came from the Freeform channel. But maybe second time through, it'll be better. But no, I did. I have ripped it apart. I can't talk politics on any social media due to my job, but I can definitely blast stuff like that.
No. Fair point. Fair point. But and I get your take. Like I said, I am in the mindset of I'm waiting until the next set of movies and how he brings them all together before I can really lose my mind on it. So
Yeah.
that was fun. All right, we'll take a few questions and then I'm going to let Coop get him some rest and get it off his system. Jonathan asked an interesting one. Yeah, you need some rest. I need rest, but you need rest too. You're about to go in a food coma. How much of this is nagging not allocating enough money for high school recruits and them picking the highest bidder versus recruiting staff not doing a good enough job at attracting talent? I think it's more so a staff agreement that some of these players aren't worth their asking price. But at the same time, like the Eberhardt one, I think they were willing to pay. That one was a heartstrings pull. Can't do much about that. That was a family dynamic that's like, yeah, that sucks. Can't you? That literally was last minute. You can't do much about that. But in some of the other ones, I think it was they agreed to something with the player. Things look good. Player comes back, hey, I want to get more because this school's offering that, and they're probably like, okay, go to that school. Let the school pay
Yeah.
you that additional. I do think that there's a lot of situations where where players are using us as a measuring stick of getting more money, and sometimes they're taking just a little bit more. But then you start learning that some of these kids, some people will take a little bit extra and they'll realize, yeah, I probably should have just went for the money that I was offered before because this little extra is not putting me in a better situation. That's my thought.
There's that. And I'll combo my answer with one that Chuck has kind of put in here, a dual question. Why do some of the content creators get pretty hyped about dudes when it feels like they're coming here, but then listen, there's a lot of stuff that Parker Thune knows. There's a lot of stuff that Josh McCuistion,
They
CK
know.
over at 247 that they know. A lot of these guys also get absolutely burned. If you know Josh McCuistion, he can tell you the story about Jacob Phillips, where he is sending everybody. The linebacker who ended up committed to LSU was in the
Mm-hmm.
bag. Another guy, and I don't even want to bring up his name just for
Nope.
PTSD's
Do
sake, but I
not. Do
think
not. People
David
got
Hicks.
PTSD.
David Hicks.
We literally just said not to say it. Like for real.
Hey,
We
we got
PTSD. We don't need it. No.
we got the number one defensive line going into this year, so I think that my PTSD has been over for a while, especially when he hasn't done anything. But these guys put their actual physical money. It's not just like excitement so they can go, hey, Texas fans, screw you, we got them. Like it is. These guys put money into their staff to go do these things based off of, hey, listen, this is going to happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is going to happen. And I think that a lot of us get really, really excited about him. I think it is a detraction if somebody's like, yeah, well, he's not that good. You bring up Alger Miles. I still want Alger Miles here.
I would love
Absolutely want Alger Miles because Alger Miles lists his pancakes, not his touchdown catches, not his receiving yards. His
That's the thing that got Coop's attention. This dude will actually say the pancake.
He absolutely 100%. I think that sometimes it just doesn't make great content to be like, hey, you can't go out and bash the kid. That's just not kosher. And anytime that has happened where, people have made mistakes, and believe me, I know that there is an instance where Parker, showed his frustration and he knows that was a mistake. There's times that those things happen and it's just not good. So the best way to do it, I think a lot of the time is just human nature is just, well, we can get somebody else too. Gabe Brunlow-Dindy, another one. Marvin Jones Jr. Marvin Jones Jr. was Lincoln Riley being here for 2 or 3 more weeks from being committed to the Sooners at that point.
And then he came back.
Dindy was another one. So there's a lot of times where, guys like those guys, ourselves, we hear these things and we know what's about to happen. And you're excited about it. And then something goes south and you want to be able to be like, this effing sucks. It's just not great content.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. All right, so thanks a bunch for that, Jonathan, and that question. Robert asked about the junior college JUCO players. I know that we still have a good relationship with some of the Kansas schools. I mean, we
Yeah,
were looking at Josiah Jefferson, and I believe that Utah was willing to offer him a lot more in comparison to us. And we were just kind of like, we got like 9 tight ends on roster. We have to get rid of somebody. And I think they're actually, again, I think they're actually really high on Trinae Washington, the true freshman.
yeah.
That they're just like, I think we'll stick to that one instead of adding another freshman and all the others. You can't just. They're going to start cutting people. Probably they're going to start pushing people into the portal or forcing some retirement at the end of the season. And I'm gonna be honest, at that point, you may actually hear Josiah Jefferson's name populate back up. So just keep your eyes open on that. But I do expect them to continue to look for another Kendall Doby type, right?
Yeah.
Another set of JUCO players that are really good that could be something. So we haven't abandoned it. It is something we're looking at. Mike, what's going on, Sooner Legends? He asked about AD. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't expect us to hear nothing about an AD
No.
until next year.
Yeah.
So based upon the actual presser or whatnot, he's gonna get his 30. So since Joe C is gonna get his 30 years, which is in 2 years, I don't
28.
think that. Yeah, so yes, I don't expect them to actually have anybody picked until the 27th season to start the 28th season. That's me.
And and I think that these things can also change a lot in the meantime, because I think where you get excited about getting somebody in here, the Stellman name gets thrown around. There's guys in other schools. There's a lot of people that are riding this new wave of everything going on. You kind of need to let the wave continue to roll, because there's a lot of changes that will continue to happen. And I promise you this, that Josie is probably going to have a role with this university as long as he wants to. But I do think that there's a very, very real chance that the AD and people who manage the football are not the same
Mm-hmm.
people.
Yep.
And a lot of that is because this is the breadwinner, right? It's if you are, you work for Jeep, Chrysler, the guys running the Avenger, for Dodge are not the same people in charge of, guys making the new Wranglers, new Gladiators, and stuff like that. It's different entities, different people. You're gonna see stuff like that happen, to where football just is the above all end all when it comes time to the revenue.
No, that's 100% it, and that's the thing to keep in consideration. English, good question here. Some Sooner fans that's trying to sell 8-4 will set us back 5 years into mediocrity. Why? I don't know. I'm gonna be honest. With this schedule, I think that's why people are trying to sell 8-4. But I'm going to say this, and this is going to be an extremely controversial statement. I don't think our schedule is going to be as hard as people think. It looks very hard on paper. I don't think it's going to be in a lot of those games as competitive as you think. I'm just how I feel about it. It's how I feel about this team going into this year based upon all the rumbles I've heard from people in practices. This feels like 23, but with a lot more complementary football in comparison and multiple leaders, right? You had Stutzman being, second year in the system, being the dude that led everything, him and Billy. And the minute you lost Stutzman, things kind of got squirrely because people were still trying to figure things out. We're not in that situation. Offense, of course, everybody's learning the system, but it's a lot easier for them in comparison. I know Bill Beatonbow has got these boys whipped into shape on the line. So to me, 8-4 won't set us back, but we need to go 10-2. We need to go
And
10-2. 10-2
it
puts you back on schedule. Let's put it that way, because the schedule gets easier going forward.
and I would say that there's being and trying to keep my head about myself right now. We need to see the season start. We need to see what the other teams look like. But there's not a team on our schedule that is, I mean, head and shoulders better than this Oklahoma team is going to be. Um, from the things that we have heard, not only from inside folks, players' parents, things like that, this team is different, and it's not hope. It is, I think Mateer brings so much more to this team. I think the offensive line, you're not looking for five that can play. You're trying to figure out which five is going to give you the best, because I think that you run 10 deep on the offensive line, and 10 deep, 10 good deep good. I think these wide receivers, where I don't see a CeeDee Lamb out there, I see a bunch of guys like in the 2000s when you had Mackey, Fagan, Woolfolk, Savage. Like when you had those guys,
they're solid.
Every time that you locked down Josh Norman, every time that you locked down one dude, somebody else popped open, and that's what's going to happen this year. Plus, if anybody is confused about John Mateer and what he is going to be physically, he's going to be 6'1", 225. He is going to want a truck, and he is not going to have to be Superman.
Man. I don't want him to be that, but he will. He's going to be running around trying to truck folks. But y'all going to be excited about that. Y'all going to like the fact that he's going to be willing to run and be physical all the time. Now, the other thing to go with that, too, is, Coop, and I love that you point that out. I want to make sure I clarify this, too, with all the peoples. My peoples. I want y'all to hear me on this. We're going long a little bit. The numbers are rolling up, so I appreciate us interjecting with a little break on Superman. Now back into football talk. So thank y'all for pulling up, hitting the like button. New to the channel, subscribe, rate, review, give us 5. John Mateer is not going to be required to do everything. John Mateer will have moments where he's going to try to do everything, but this is not the year that I'm going to fully judge John Mateer overall in his tenure at Oklahoma. Because if he does go out there and balls out at a ridiculous rate to where we're talking potential Heisman conversation, listen to the hypotheticals, don't lose your minds yet. But if we're at that point where you have that conversation, then again, of course, you're going to judge it. He's going to be bounced out. You can be like, dude, he produced some absurdity here.
Yeah.
I don't see him going, even though I'm betting on him to win the Heisman, I don't see him winning the Heisman. I don't mind putting a little dollars on it just to say it. Mainly because I think that they're going to make sure that the defense is going to put him in so many good positions that he may not be able to do as much as you would like. Let's put it that way. The yards may not come as often or whatnot because the defense is getting stops or interceptions, because they're going to be causing a ton of turnovers. The one thing that every school we play against this season is going to do is test our secondary. And if Gentry and Eli comes back healthy, with Kendall Dobie coming back healthy, and these young boys get out there, that safety room does what we expect them to do with Robert Spears-Jennings, Peyton Bowen, and then Boganowski, Hardy, as well as Powers. Look, I'm talking 5 dudes, and then you throw in Kendall Daniels, who's going to mix in it too.
Yeah.
People are going to test our secondary more than they're going to test the run, because they're going to be afraid to run against us. And if the secondary goes out there and breaks up passes on a regular basis tipped passes and gets picks and stuff, guess what? Y'all going to be like, oh, dang. Our offense is not playing on very large yards. It's going to be half the field all the time on a regular basis. It's going to be like, dang, well, John Mateer finished the game 150 yards passing in this game and 65 yards rushing. It's a great game. It's a really good game if you think of the fact that the starting yardage was 40 yards. I think that this team has the capability to do that because they did it last year and didn't have an offense. I think the defense is going to look better this year because the offense is going to do enough to keep them off the field. When they get the ball to them, you're going to hand the ball to Jaden Odd, Xavier Robinson, Taylor Tatum, Javonte Barnes, and then Mateer's going to throw and run. It's going to be such a mix that you're going to be like, oh, this team is not as dependent as we were used to. Like, that 2023 team was dependent on Dylan Gabriel. 100%. It was the DG show. And I understand a lot of y'all just wasn't as fun. Now, granted, if we had him last season, we probably win 8 games. DG gets you 2 more wins.
think so.
Because he's going to actually throw the ball and move the ball around. Even with young receivers, he's going to find ways to get them the ball, or he's going to tuck and run. Right? He's going to make decisions. Something that's the toughest part. Material's going to be similar. The question is, how effective will he be? He's going to be good enough. It's how effective will he be in putting up actual numbers. I don't know that yet. I don't know, because I don't know how what type of positions the defense is going to put him in to where he takes his time. Do this. If you're a gamer, if you decide to pick up College Football 26, go play with Oklahoma. Everyone I've talked to that's played with Oklahoma has said this is probably the most fun team on the game, and there's a reason why.
And I'll also say this too: the reason why Kyler and Baker won Heisman's because their defense was ass, and they had to do it all. They had long fields all the time. The defense was judged on, can we just keep them to a field goal attempt? Can we, anytime you guys, a lot of us don't remember. You got the ball up on the goal line. You knew it was a touchdown. We knew it was going to be a touchdown. And so that's the one thing I will say this is get your arguments for Twitter ready, because I have a feeling that late November, there's going to be a lot of people complaining why John Mateer should be higher up in the Heisman ratings. But I don't think that, Ajay, I'm with you. I don't think the stats are going to be there. There's going to be a lot of people saying, oh, well, look, he only went, 15 for 21 for 185 yards and 3 touchdowns. Well, most likely he probably also had a rushing touchdown. We probably had 2 other rushing touchdowns and a defensive touchdown. Like, it's going to be those types of games. Now, we could be wrong, and it could be him with a lot of low-key yardage and, in the 40s on touchdowns. I promise you this, though. If John Mateer has 38-plus touchdowns, he'll be in New York.
Yep. And there's a possibility. Now, granted, if somebody does some absurd numbers in the Big Ten or even in the SEC, if like Garrett Nussmeier, Lenore Sellers throw up some just dumb numbers, or somebody does it in the Big 12, you may unfortunately not make that trip. But there's a possibility he'll be in those conversations, because all he needs to do is manage the team properly. He's gonna take risks. Please believe he's gonna have turnovers. Like, if there's anything, I've personally calculated, I'm gonna give y'all my final predictions as soon as fall camp starts here in August. But I'm gonna tell y'all right now, a little preview on that. I expect him to have at least 12 interceptions this season. And I say 12 because I think he's going to toss it into some tight spots. And some of those moments he's going to win, and other moments he's going to lose. I'm not going to lose my mind on it, because he's going to take risk. Like Hawkins as well. Hawkins had his game against South Carolina, and that was a lot of him getting hit. But besides that, he wasn't really throwing the ball into like trouble. He was making sure they were borderline wide open. But that's what happens with true freshmen. There's nothing against him. It's more of a true freshman thing. You want to make sure it's perfect before you do it. Nah, Mateer ain't. Mateer going to go sidearm and fling it. And you're going to be like, no, yes. You're going to do that a lot. Just brace yourself for that conversation. That's what's going to happen. But from there, the next question comes in, which I think is perfect for this to go into it. And this is from English as well. Asking a question about what was the expectation with BV the first year. I'm going to be honest. I thought the roster could win 8 games. Now, when I found out his portal strategy, tapered my expectations down to 6. I thought 6-6. And I say that because instead of clearing house, basically all the players we probably should have cleared house before the 24 season, for last season. That's when you start to see a lot of those body shifting. You're like, that's when you probably should have been bringing in dudes to groom up to prepare for 24. Yeah. And I've heard me say this. I've been vocal about this part when I've talked to BV, and I'm actually, you know what? I'm gonna actually ask him this question at media days. I'm gonna notate this now to remind myself to ask him this question. How does he feel about the way they did things when he first got here in 22? Does he feel like that prepared him enough for the SEC? And I say that because I don't think it did. I think the problem is that he was giving too much grace in an industry that's too cutthroat for you to do that. Like I said, it's not a bad thing because that's actually a very noble thing for him to say, because he said it. I'm not going to be like Coach Prime. I'm not going to send everybody out and bring in 50 more people and, blah, 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 blah. I get it. But Coop, that was the thing that got me, is that, yeah, man, you probably should have did that. You probably should have cleaned house on the defensive side of the ball and winged it from there. But he didn't. He gave grace. He let people try to figure it out. It didn't work out. Then you start to see shifts. That's why I felt like the first year was probably not going to be that great. The good thing is that it proved me right, because the second year was a hell of a lot better.
And again, going into 23, we saw no real clear path. G Freaky was the most exciting thing that we were hearing in the offseason, right? Jalil Farouk was really the only guy that we had hope around. Andrell Anthony, you're banking on his 8 catches at Michigan, and that team showed out because they were talented. And so I will just say this is I think that Brent Venables this year, he has taken over the defense because he wants that to go. He wants to at least have that part just done. He has given the ability, I think that the Zach Alley departure, I think with time things will come out on that one, but I think that forced him just to kind of take over and be in charge of that stuff. I think that, he has handed the offense over to Arbuckle, and some of the conversations that we've heard here since the departure of Luttrell, and now that people are a little bit more willing to have that conversation, man, it sounds like everything that we saw with our eyes was exactly true. That it was a mess. It was a mess. It wasn't just a mess between him and EJ. It wasn't just a mess with him and DeMarco. It was every single coach. There was no uniformity. There was no agreement. And yeah, I will say this: you have a very, very good opportunity at this point going forward for this team to come in. This is kind of my wrap up for the WNL. Man, I'm sticking with my 10-2 pick right now.
I like it.
I really, you have an easier schedule versus what you had last year. It's going to be easier because I think Tennessee drops back, Ole Miss drops back. South Carolina is South Carolina, and I think that they're just going to be a tough out no matter what happens. Texas is starting a bunch of brand new, a bunch of newness there. So the schedule is easier, but now you have a pulse at quarterback, and so John Mateer knows how to make plays. He's, like you said, Jay, he's not going to be asked to do everything.
Nope.
But if you gave the defense an offensive, hope, that defense would have been 10 times better than it even was. And listen, you can say whatever you want. I see a guy in here. I don't know if it's drugs or if you're just trolling, but the players are speaking differently about John Mateer than they were last year. It was don't hurt Jackson's feelings and sure point on like the potential. It's different with Mateer. It's they now know that there's bullets in the chamber and it's ready. It's time to go.
Yep. Exactly. So we'll get to that point. It's a good time. Love it. Thank y'all for, of course, pulling up. Hit the like button. New to the channel, subscribe, rate, review, give us 5. I'll talk a lot. We'll have some content around SEC Media Days while I'm here. We will also, we'll be back. You know, with that, we'll be live next week. We'll get back to the twice a week come see closer to the season, probably the week before, as we preview the week of, we'll preview the Illinois State game, which is going to be a really weird game to preview, but we'll preview it. We'll talk about who they got, get y'all prepared for it, and we'll do some more deep diving stuff. Get me and Coop a lot of practice around that stuff. So we appreciate y'all joining us. Yeah. But we'll chop it up day or two. Yeah, have a good evening. Peace out.